Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
He's born for this. So, episode 4, give it up for the band, Rob Ladd. Rob, super excited to have you here. Can't believe I'm doing this. Is this a good idea?
I can't tell you, but it's super fun to be here with you and chat about stuff that will put people to sleep.
Right. And 13 minutes, according to my looking at the stats, but the attention span is very short. So.
Oh, we're never gonna make it 13 minutes. If we still have anybody here after 13 minutes, I'll buy you an ice cream cone.
So I took the liberty of printing out your discography, Rob, and there's a lot to discover.
That's
here
funny.
To discuss. But there's a point when your resume gets so long that you need to consolidate. And you did a great job.
Not everything's on there.
No, I know. Actually, most of this is what I discovered through my own sleuthing. But you did a nice job of summarizing. And I'm just going to read a little bit of what you wrote. Rob Ladd began playing drums at age 11. And I think, first of all, I started at 13, so that explains a lot. I don't feel so bad. You got 2 years on me.
Yeah, but it was modern.
Right.
Everything you learned was modern. It's half as hard.
Okay, right. And since then, since age 11, Rob has played with artists such as Alanis Morrisette, Alejandro Escovedo, Chris Stamey, the Connells, Continental Drifters, Dave. This list is very long, everyone.
It's alphabetized.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. All right, that was smart. That was very PC of you. And yeah, didn't want to make anyone mad.
No, exactly.
Don Henley, Emmylou Harris. This list does go on, and it's impressive. And congratulations. I mean, you deserve it. You do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I promised myself.
No,
Sorry.
really. But growing up in Chapel Hill, and I'm sure we'll talk about Chapel Hill as I do a lot. You and Morgan Davis, those were the names that I always heard. I'm also from Chapel Hill, Rob, from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And small town, but North Carolina actually is pretty stacked with musical talent. I mean, I did a lot of research. Yeah.
Crazy. And it's weird to hear my name with Morgan because when I was growing up, it was Morgan and nothing. I mean,
really,
nobody was worth mentioning. There were other drummers and good drummers, but don't forget it. I mean, there's Morgan and there's everybody else. So that's quite an honor.
Well,
to be in there.
I'm
not sure it's accurate, but
come on. You guys have different styles, but equally as successful and like just captivating to watch.
So I moved to LA. I graduated from Chapel Hill High in '83. And we moved here when I was 11, 10, something like that. Went to Chapel Hill High. Some friends of them and I started a band, and then in '88 I moved to LA. I was 23 or something like that. I didn't have any idea what I was doing, but I was living in Chapel Hill and I was playing drums and I was working at restaurants or painting houses or something like that, and I was like, well, I could do this anywhere, and I just decided to try it out there.
Yeah,
that's what facilitated me. I also had to buy a truck. I didn't have
to get all your stuff out there.
Exactly. I was gonna have to take a drum set out there, and so I bought a crappy old Nissan truck that I thought was going to be perfect, but it turned out I needed to rebuild the motor in my mom's garage
before you could take it out.
Yeah, before I could tow a U-Haul trailer out there. That was a nightmare.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, don't do that.
So, mistake number 1: don't buy a truck.
I mean, I don't know. It worked out. It got me there, but it was just really frustrating having car parts all over the floor in my mom's garage. Like, I didn't know how to rebuild an engine.
So we'll talk about Eurosport too, but I used to work at Eurosports where I met my wife actually. And do you know that? Dana and I worked at Eurosport. I didn't know that. Yeah. So there was a guy there who was our shade tree mechanic, and he helped me rebuild the engine of my 4Runner.
Oh, cool.
And we had a bunch of parts left over. And when we got done, he said, they always send extra parts with the engines. I'm like, I don't know if they do, but it worked. It worked. So.
Yeah, the parts that I had left over were actually from the engine that I took apart. I just left off all the smog pump and all of the the stuff that you're required to have for emissions control
In
and stuff like
California,
that.
California emissions. Remember
Certainly in North
Yeah.
Carolina, anywhere, but
Right.
it never
Yeah.
really ran that great.
That's
Maybe they needed that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I just remember that from Price is Right. It's like California emissions. Remember that? They would have a car.
That's an
and
extra $500 or something.
Yeah. A package, right? It was a package. So you didn't know anybody out there? You just went for
I did.
it?
I knew Parthenon
Okay.
Huxley, who is a guy from Chapel Hill who I had played with some, and that's it.
Was Tony out there then? Tony Bowman?
Tony Bowman. I don't think so.
Okay.
I didn't know that he was out there.
Yeah,
If he had, I don't think he
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
And I knew two of the people in Parthenon's band because I'd visited approximately a year before, and I played a session out there with Parthenon's band, and his bass player Jennifer Condos and his guitar player Rusty Anderson. So when I got out there, I was lucky enough to sort of join that band and play with those guys. And both Rusty and Jen are huge, important players. Rusty plays with Paul McCartney and has for a really long time.
Yeah.
Jen has played with literally everybody. And it was just great to know those people. They introduced
Yeah.
me to people, and that's how things happen out there.
Yeah.
You there's no way to break in unless somebody says, "Hey, here's a guy,"
Yeah.
which is sort of what happened to me.
Yeah.
Like the first sort of big gig that I got was for. I was just talking about this actually for this band Wilson Phillips. Remember that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So the guy that produced that was Glenn Ballard, and he needed to take them to Japan, and he needed a drummer who had a passport because they had to send off the visas, and it takes 30 days, and we were like 31 days out from the gig. And he called my friend Mark, and he was like, "Do you know anybody?" And I was like, I got my friend Rob. He's really nice. He's not very good. And he was like, "It's okay. This part is really dumb. Monkey could play it." And Mark's like, Rob's your guy.
I know your monkey.
Yeah, exactly. And so hi, this is Glenn Ballard. Oh, hi. Do you have a passport? Yes. Great. Do you play drums? That was the order.
Yeah, check. Yeah, check.
And that
that's
was
great.
like Michael Landau was playing guitar.
Oh, wow.
And Glenn later produced Alanis Morissette's breakout record. So it's just like that's what happens.
Yeah.
And that's a funny thing that it's just like, I was there, I showed up, I did the gig.
Yeah.
And they were like, I know a guy who will show up and can do a gig, and that's how you get called.
Yeah, it's amazing because the odds are so. I mean, the odds are really stacked. And tell me if you believe this or not, but I've been thinking about it. Let's take any other profession like accounting or computer. You know, you can get a computer science degree. You can be coding. There's a good chance you're going to get a good job, right? If you do your work and you know what I mean. You put in your time, and of course you need to be able to interview and like get the gig and relate to people.
Yeah, and
that's not hard for a lot of people.
Have your stuff together.
Yeah.
Be professional. Be engaging. Be helpful.
Yeah.
Be positive. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be fine. But it's not that way in the music. I mean, you can have all those things together. I don't think. But if you
definitely need all of those things.
You definitely need those things. But then there's some other things that like the intangibles, like who you know, where you are, right, location,
right.
And just honestly, and tell me if you think I'm off on this, but it's sort of like what's popular is determined by other people. It's like, I mean, there's producers and there's people's taste because it's art, right? It's subjective, unlike accounting or, do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
So it's a weird industry in that way, you know?
Yeah. There's a little more, there's other things to consider. Like, let's say that I compare being a player in LA to being a roofer.
Yeah. Okay.
Like your roofer needs to be good, right? You need to really know what you're doing. You need to know the rules. You need to build a good roof or the house will leak. But and you go to your friends and you say, I need a new roof. Who did your roof? And that's if you lived in a place where nobody had roofs, then that wouldn't be a good job.
It wouldn't be a good
you.
place to go.
No.
Right. Yeah.
So, and like, so you move to a place like LA or Nashville or other towns, New York, where they need drummers. If you can hold a pair of sticks and play and don't mind saying yes all the time, you'll work. I mean, you'll get gigs. I don't think it's the case that, the problem is if I said I only want to do roofs of mansions.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Then I'm going to
Get
be
selective.
Right. Then I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But in fact, the opposite is true. When this was my first foray when I moved out there to only playing that drums was going to be the thing.
Okay. Right.
And
no day job. No.
Right. And after a couple of years, I was able to do it. I got rid of all my day jobs. But then you have to do every roof. I mean, if someone says, I got a roof and it's completely covered with like bird crap and it's like
it's very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't allow ropes. Then there you are, and that, it can, and you can't go out and just jump up on someone's roof and start hammering and expect to get paid either.
Right.
You have to wait for them to call you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between that kind of job and a regular sort of 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of similarities with being a self-employed anything. It's just that only in LA, in San Francisco, places like that, do they need
that
drummers.
Many. Yeah. That makes sense. So you're a contractor, you're a specialist, right? You hire, I mean, not a contractor, but the contractor would hire you, and that would be the producer, right? In this analogy, right?
Sure.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But you really need to make sure that you're ready to go. You have all your tools. You have all your chops, and your word is your bond, right? So you show up, you play good. You're good. You play bad, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. So how did you? Yeah. So getting your stuff together. I mean, that's a subject in itself, but. Did you take any lessons out there? I mean, did you have some mentors that drumming wise?
So many mentors, non-drumming mentors.
Okay, yeah.
Because I really wanted to be a player, and I wanted to be one of the guys that people have heard of as a player.
Yeah. Well,
not people like no.
Bob, it's just
I mean people who we've never heard of have heard of.
Yeah.
Meaning the producers and the people whose names are not huge. I don't know. I wanted more than to be famous, thank God, which I wasn't. I wanted to be known among the in crowd as a guy who
That's exactly
knew it.
I totally have the same thing. I never wanted to be famous. I still want to be able to walk down the street.
Yeah.
I went to a bar with Kenny Arnoff after he did a
Forget
clinic.
it. Yeah.
And well, I don't know though, because we were at the bar and they're playing Jack and Diane, and there are these two frat guys next to us, air drumming the drum fill, and he's standing right next to him, and he's like, "This is why I love being not famous."
I bet he thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, but then of course in the drummer world, he walks into a music store, everybody knows Kenny Arnoff, right?
Yeah.
So I know exactly.
And he's really fun to talk to about stuff too.
Yeah.
He's really good at.
He was a great hang.
Got great stories.
Very great hang. Yeah.
I feel like even without all of the professional work and all that, it's still even just being a musician. Like you're already in a world that nobody understands except us. Right?
Yeah.
I always love those worlds. I'm not an exclusive person, but I love being a member of a club that you have to actually. There's no entrance fee and there's no initiation.
Yeah.
But you just have to be it. You just have to know your way to it. So.
You're right. It's a club, and it's and you got to love it because there's a lot of positives to this industry and this line of work, but there's a lot of negatives too. And one of the things that I think about a lot is travel. Right, late night travel. There's that famous Johnny Quest crash. And I thought about that all the time driving late. In fact, I am so paranoid about driving that I have to drive. Like there's only a few people that I can relax when they're driving after a gig.
Yeah, I prefer to drive.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird. And So, we talked about this beforehand, but you had a pretty serious accident not that long ago coming back from a gig.
Now
right?
nobody lets me drive.
So
No, I can't
so,
drive.
yeah. Well, so yeah, you want to talk about that? I mean,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll it was terrible. It was a really terrible crash. And the damage, the physical damage, well, if you saw a picture of I'll send you a picture of the car that you can show.
Okay, yeah, because I did see your
mess.
hardware case, some of your cases that were in the back of the car when I came over.
So all my gear was behind me, and it was a head-on collision, and
God,
all of that stuff came smashing forward, and that really caused a boatload of injuries to me. It was the gear.
Yeah.
I figured out my brothers made me buy a cargo net that I now wrap my gear in when it's in my car, so that something like that won't happen again. But I recommend it because there's nothing. Your car is terrible for carrying gear.
Yeah. You think the seats are going to hold a
they're
hardware case? No,
not the one that you're sitting in. The very back seats, which are bolted to the frame.
Frame. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But if you got the seats down, you're
you had a wagon or something? Or?
Yeah, a golf wagon, which totally saved my life. Like it really did.
German engineering.
Yeah, it really was amazing. I mean, the cop told me later he was pretty sure I was dead when he approached. He was like, "I'm going to pull a corpse out of here."
Oh God, man.
But yeah, so I spent 30 days basically flat on my back in the hospital, and outside of the first week or so, when I first got there, I was really on a tremendous amount of painkillers. So I don't really remember a lot of it, but my poor wife and daughter and Marvin were all there and really worried.
Marvin Levy?
Yeah, he just showed up out of nowhere. I don't know. I still don't know how he knew. I don't know if Stevie called him or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they found some internal bleeding, which they didn't, and so they didn't find at first. And so it was late that night, midnight or something. I had to get emergency surgery, and that was gross. And then when they cut you open, then your recovery gets really scary and or just off. Just you're
like
plugged into everything.
C-section. I mean, it's just when your guts are out on the table and they're putting your back together.
You know how they? Somebody told my daughter this that when they pull your guts out, which is definitely what they had to do to me. In fact, anytime they cut up your stomach, they take them all out, and they put them back in exactly like when you put the cord for your laptop back in your backpack. That's how they
shove it back
in
there.
They just cram it back in there. They don't.
They don't wrap it carefully.
Nope, they don't. They don't wrap a little Velcro thing around it or nothing. They just shove it in there.
Oh.
It was her analogy. It's just like your laptop case goes in your backpack,
wow.
your laptop cord. Anyway, that was really. When I look back on that, I've just described something that's horrific, right?
Yeah.
But that's
scary.
not the feeling that I have from it.
Now, like looking back,
even I can't pull out, with the exception of a couple of days, maybe when I was really uncomfortable. I can't pull out any bad feelings from that thing or bad experiences from that thing.
It's the memory. I think it's a protection. I think your mind shuts off and says,
I certainly don't
want to
remember the crash.
this.
I don't remember the crash, but what I do remember is for 30 days there were these people who came into my room and asked me how I was doing and did like gross things for me, who could have been anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Who always had a smile on their face. Okay, Mr. Ladd, we're going to clean you up now. Anything else? And I'm like, you're going to have to be back in here in 15 minutes. And they were like, that's all right. Just give us the button. You know, just all the time. And like my friends and even like yourself and even other people that I didn't know, reaching out, coming by.
Yeah.
I'm telling, if you know somebody who's in the hospital, go visit them. Even if they're unconscious, which I was frequently, especially at the beginning, even hearing later, oh, so-and-so came by. It's huge. I really felt like I needed to get better for all those people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And there was our friend Maura started a GoFundMe, and all these people gave money, and it was it was absolutely inspirational.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm like a lucky bastard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Before all this, but
Right.
like for that to happen, I mean, it really made me. It changed my attitude about a lot of things. Like the world is a way better place than I had given it credit for.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
because
really was.
being from Chapel Hill, we can be a little cynical, right? I don't know if it's that, but yeah. Oh, that's great, man. That's beautiful.